I do want to comment though too, we got a couple more questions. Are there any questions for this Doug or Rachel? Are there any questions for them? No. No, okay.
You don't have any questions for yourself?
Okay, yes.
I'm curious to know from the two attorneys, thank you very much for coming. It's been fascinating. Thank you for what you did. How does this compare in your past experience? I mean, to me, I'm shocked. I didn't know it could be this convoluted, this crazy. I mean, is this common or are we an exception?
This has never happened before, to our experience with the Board of Assessment Appeals, to be put under such stress and pressure. And it started about a year and a half ago, one of our first meetings where we reported in our minutes, and the town manager didn't like them, and so she told us basically sanitize our minutes. We were offended by that because it's our minutes. And what she wanted taken out was a reference that we had that we had asked Todd if he was a certified licensed appraiser any place. His answer was no. We put that in the minutes. And they didn't want that in the minutes because they were afraid, well, for whatever reason they were afraid. But anyway, yeah, go ahead.
Okay. So this question was, when an assessor informs the taxpayer that the town does not have unsuppressed street cards, what options are available to the taxpayer to access this information? Well, actually, the last thing on our agenda tonight was motions and discussions. I was going to make a motion that we do a resolution that the BAA does not approve suppression of any field on public cards. And just so that you're aware, on the Connecticut Association of Assessors, ER1 says it's unethical for members to refuse by intent or omission to make available all public records in their custody for public review unless access to such records is specifically limited or prohibited by law, or the information has been obtained on a confidential basis and the law permits such information to be treated as confidential. So that is something that we just discovered in the Code of Ethics. They should not be suppressing the documents. It should be public information. So that is our last thing that we were going to do tonight, was make a motion and discuss that.
Is that your motion?
Yes.
Okay. Donna, you want to second the motion?
Second.
Okay, so now we can have a discussion. And my only thought with this is that he doesn't work for us, so we can't, it's not binding on him, but I think it's probably okay for us to do for a statement of our policy in terms of we would like to have no suppression of any of these figures or anything that comes up. They get a program paid for by the taxpayer. They get the information paid for by the taxpayer. It's inconceivable to me that it should be suppressed from the taxpayer. And then let the taxpayers decide when whether they can read a card or they can't, or they care about their taxes or they don't. But they should have all the information available to them. It's kind of like when you go into a hospital for an operation and the doctor explains stuff to you. You need to make an informed, intelligent decision. You can't do that until you have all the information in front of you. And we're fortunate to have access to all this as long as it's provided. But this fake transparency that's going on here is ridiculous. Everybody in here should have access to all these records that are at the town clerk's office. They're electronically available. It's the only ones they want you to see are the ones that they said, here, go look here, but don't look over there. You should be able to look any place and then make up your own mind. You're big people, and Enfield is not dumb. So
No.
I do. So I'm with it for that.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm on board.
Okay. All in favor?
Should not suppress.
Aye. Okay, so we just passed it. So we're gonna we
But they
will
should
make
talk
our.
to the council, because
Oh yeah, you guys got to spread the word about what you heard here and tonight and so on. And I do want to say one other thing too is that for the people that have been supporting us, one who has paid a price is Nick Hopkins, because Nick Hopkins was initially a liaison to this. And Mike Ludwig also liaison. Mike couldn't be here because of an employment issue he's got to handle. But Mike has been supportive also. But with regard to Nick was a liaison, and a liaison is supposed to get information to the investigator and respond back and so on. Well, he was doing his job so well that they had to manufacture some grief against him to get him removed from that. In return, what they did is they took him off a whole bunch of panels and stuff he's on, and now, because he still is a firm supporter of our right to speak and the taxpayers' right to know what's going on, that he's being punished with a primary over in his district in 4. So we have one Democrat who is supporting us solidly and supporting the taxpayers so far. So we'll see about the rest. But the other problem with the liaison is they replaced him with Santinella. So when Santinella's not riding around checking your driveways for cars out-of-state plates, he's supposed to get people to go and see Mario. At least that's what Mario said. Mario was asked, how come you didn't talk to any farmers other than Art? And he said, well, it's up to the liaison. Santinella didn't give anybody to talk to, not a soul. Did he not know anybody? But I know that he's been appointed an ambassador, basically, by Ellen for the Todd Feinberg show, so that Ellen sent an email to Todd Feinberg that he's made public that said that it cost the town $100,000 for this investigation. And she didn't want to go on the air, but she wanted to send Santinella because he could explain things so that Santinella was going to represent the administration against the BAA and taxpayers. Just so you might want to remember that in District 2 if you're from there. So, how many years did Ms. Longi pay taxes on a property she didn't own? 5 years, and that's because she didn't know she didn't own it. It came up when she was selling to somebody else who then had a surveyor that determined that she didn't own it. If the town wouldn't fix it, then who paid for that? Or does Ms. Longi get a tax refund? That's interesting because that's where Donna was from in terms of they think a zero value was bad. Donna wanted to give her back $2,500 for the taxes that she had paid for the preceding 5 years. We didn't go quite that far, but there is precedent for it in a case that I gave them where the town had done bad things to somebody and they had to pay back $99,000 worth of taxes that they overtaxed them for a few years. The reason I'm familiar with that case is that was my wife's, because about 15 years ago, the town trespassed on her property, diverted water, and ruined a subdivision, and then denied it, even though they had had a town backhoe and bulldozer and town employees that did it. Went to court. We ended up, once we were able to prove it, the town stipulated and was told to pay, reimburse the taxes, and they reimbursed. So Lori probably could have got it if she wants to sue, but is it worth $2,500? Probably not. But be that as it may, that's, are there any other questions anybody has?
Tom, I got a question for
Yeah.
What gives the assessor the right to, when Lori do the appeal with the BAA, when they overturn it back, and he just goes back and does it all over again? What gives him that right to overrule the BAA? Got figured that out there with the judge once it gets to them.
Well, I don't know the exact facts. I don't know the exact facts of this situation, but I don't believe an assessor has the power to overrule the Board of Assessment Appeals.
He's done that twice to myself, and I'm sure to some others in this room.
I'd be interested to see the statute that gives him that authority. I have not seen it.
Doug, it's the one he changed, the one you guys changed that he ignored. That was the one. But you definitely want to talk to him after the, yeah.
Yeah, I think that statute, even in its current in its current form, does not authorize an assessor to override a Board of Assessment Appeals. The only one that has that authority is the court.
Okay, is there any other questions?
Your mic's not working, so I couldn't
Okay.
really hear.
we're going to adjourn, but if anybody wants to stay and talk, we're welcome. So.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second, all in favor? Great, we're done. Thank you. Thank you, you.
Thank you all.
Thank you
so
guys.
much.
Yes, appreciate it.